11 years ago, in the peaceful Bitterne Park neighborhood of Southampton, a 16-year-old girl vanished on a frigid winter morning, disappearing without a trace, leaving her family shattered and the community plunged into confusion. Police suspected her half-brother, who was present in the house that morning, might be involved, but with no body found, no clear physical evidence, and very few leads to pursue, the investigation quickly stalled. Yet through all those years, one determined female investigator never gave up, clinging to the slim chance that the truth was still hidden somewhere among the forgotten files. Then one day, while re-examining old evidence, she uncovered a crucial detail that everyone had overlooked. A detail powerful enough to upend the entire case and leave the city of Southampton stunned. Before diving deeper into this shocking story, let us know where you're watching from. And if you love cold cases that are reinvestigated after years of silence, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. On the winter morning of 2014, the Bitterne Park neighborhood in Southampton was still cloaked in cold mist. The narrow roads running along the banks of the River Itchen, shrouded in faint vapor, with the distant sound of cargo ship engines echoing from the port. In the two-story house at number 47, a pale yellow light spilled from the kitchen window frame, where Angela Holt, the stepmother of Eleanor Ellie Lowe, was boiling water. Gareth Lowe, Ellie's father, was preparing to leave early for work, sipping coffee while checking his watch, occasionally glancing up the stairs waiting for his daughter to come down. Upstairs, Ellie woke later than usual, pulled back the curtains to look out at the dew-soaked garden, grabbed the jacket hanging on the chair, and unplugged her phone from the charger. Downstairs, Nathan Holt, her half-brother, and his girlfriend, Shauna Reed, were chatting quietly in the living room, with the TV on low volume. The house that morning carried the familiar rhythm of daily life, calm like any other morning. There were no arguments, no sounds of struggle, nothing to foreshadow anything unusual. Ellie came down the stairs, passed through the kitchen, left a half-full glass of water on the table, and then walked out through the main hallway. The sound of the door closing echoed lightly, but clearly enough for everyone in the house to notice someone had just left. The cold weather and damp air made the sound linger longer in the quiet space. No one in the house thought that would be the last time they heard any sign of her. Time passed slowly that day. Everyone went about their routines, believing Ellie had just stepped out for a bit. By early afternoon, Gareth called to ask if his daughter was coming home for lunch, but got no response. Subsequent calls went unanswered. Angela checked her social media accounts. No new activity. As dusk began to fall, anxiety gradually spread through the house. The kitchen light was turned on, dinner was prepared, but Ellie's chair remained empty. Nathan suggested she might be with friends, but none of her friends knew where she was. Gareth drove around the neighborhood, stopping at the bus stop and the road leading to the Itchen Bridge, searching in vain for her familiar figure. The wind blew through the rows of houses, the chill from the river seeping in, making the evening feel even heavier. By 9 o'clock, Ellie's phone was still off. No signal, no reply messages. Angela sat in the living room, the light casting shadows on her tense face, while Gareth stood at the window, staring out at the misty road, hoping to see his daughter's small silhouette appear. No one said it out loud, but they all knew something was wrong. After a few minutes of silence, Gareth picked up the phone and dialed emergency services. His voice hoarse as he reported to the operator that his 16-year-old daughter had vanished without a trace since that morning. On the other end of the line, the operator asked for details one by one, urged him to stay calm, and confirmed the address. The information was immediately forwarded to the nearest patrol unit of the Southampton Police. On the quiet street of Bitterne Park, the blue lights of the police car illuminated the dew-wet road, flickering like moving streaks of water in the darkness. The two dispatched officers arrived at the scene, stepping out with notebooks and radios. The door of house number 47 was already open. Gareth was waiting on the steps, his face showing clear signs of worry and lack of sleep. Angela, his wife, sat in the living room, phone pressed to her ear, still repeatedly dialing her daughter's number, but hearing only the shut-down tone. Everything in the house was untouched, dinner not cleared, the kitchen light still on. The two officers asked basic questions: the last time Ellie was seen, the clothes she was wearing, items she might have taken, and close friends. Gareth replied that he had left for work around noon and didn't know where his daughter had gone. Nathan and Shauna, who were home during that time, both confirmed they only heard the front door slam shut. No one saw her leave. One officer noted, "Last seen in residence, sound of front door closing," then began checking around the house. They shone flashlights along the hallway, through Ellie's bedroom, down to the kitchen, out the back door, through the garden gate, and around the fence. No signs of a struggle or break-in, locks intact, side windows unmarked. The preliminary report stated, no forced entry, no visible disturbance. Meanwhile, the other officer spoke with Angela about the possibility the girl had gone with friends. Angela opened her contacts, read out the names of Ellie's close friends one by one. The police noted them and made quick checks. All said they didn't know where she was and hadn't received any messages or calls that day. Returning to the living room, the second officer asked for a recent photo of the victim. Angela took a framed picture from the shelf, a schoolyard shot of the girl smiling, hair tied neatly, afternoon light slanting over her shoulder. The photo was copied for the National Missing Persons database. One of the officers asked about Ellie's personality, whether she often went far away or had ever run away before. Gareth firmly said never. Everything in the initial file indicated the girl had no reason to leave voluntarily. Around 10:30 p.m., the patrol team finished the first round of questioning, asked the family to stay home that night, and provide more information if anyone contacted them. They left, after noting the address, taking the photo and preliminary description report. Outside, the mist had thickened. Streetlights reflected on the police car's windows as they drove off, leaving behind the still-lit house. The initial report was sent to the coordination center. The case was entered into the system as missing teenager, medium risk. At Southampton Police Headquarters, the data lines appeared on screens: victim's name, age, area, time of disappearance. The assigned investigator was D.S. Aaron Moore from the Civil Investigations Unit. Aaron read the initial report summary as the office clock neared midnight. She flagged the case for urgent follow-up, requested the technical team to locate the victim's mobile phone signal, and coordinated an additional patrol to return to the Bitterne Park area the next morning to complete the scene report. Meanwhile, back at house number 47, Gareth and Angela still sat in the living room, the kitchen light casting yellow glow on the silent walls. On the table, the phone lay face down, no longer ringing. Outside, wind from the river Itchen blew through the trees, carrying the chill and gently rattling the curtains. The house remained lit, waiting for a call, waiting for footsteps to return. But all that remained was the prolonged silence of a night that began with the words, missing person. The next morning, as pale early daylight still covered the dew-damp rooftops, the Southampton Area Investigation Team's vehicle stopped in front of house number 47 on Bitterne Park Road. The two patrol officers from the previous night returned with a crime scene technician. In the file, the case was classified as active ongoing investigation, requiring thorough verification of the victim's last known location before expanding the search outward. The front wooden gate was still closed, the small yard pooled with overnight rain. They started at the main door, external lock intact, no signs of prying or damage, hinges secure, door edge clean, with no mud or scratches. From this position, the entire narrow hallway leading straight to the kitchen and stairs was visible. On the tiled floor, old shoe prints overlapped, all belonging to household members, no new strange marks. One officer photographed panoramic views of each area, from the front door, entryway, to the side hallway. The stairs were noted as clear, no debris. Upstairs, Eleanor Lowe's room was at the end of the hall, door ajar. Inside, weak light filtered through the curtains. The room was tidy, bed made, no items knocked over or disturbed. The desk had a notebook, pens, a half-charged phone on the table, wardrobe still full. A scene technician noted that the room showed no signs of hurried departure. From the bedroom, one could look down to the back garden, where a low fence separated it from the neighbors. The garden was damp, young grass flattened in a few spots, but no deep footprints or drag marks, just normal walking traces. The back door was locked from inside, lock intact. Downstairs kitchen, floor dry, no spilled water or displaced items. Next to the kitchen was a small window overlooking the narrow rear alley, frame clean with even thin dust, no handprints. The lead scene officer concluded temporarily, no forced entry, no sign of struggle, no evidence of departure under duress. Outside, daylight gradually brightened, but thick mist still lingered. Temperature recorded at 8:30 a.m. was 5 degrees Celsius, high humidity, roads still slippery. These conditions were added to the report as they could affect traces if the victim had left on foot that same morning. One officer stood at the front door, observing the street, bare trees, quiet adjoining houses, no outdoor cameras facing this house, only a traffic camera at the corner, but out of direct view. In the notes, they marked the area around the house as residential low-traffic zone, limited surveillance. Lead investigator Erin Moore arrived at the scene around 9. She received the preliminary report, walked along the hallway, noting possible secondary entry points, kitchen door, first floor windows, back garden gate, all locked from inside. She requested additional panoramic photos of the living room and front door area, where the slam sound Nathan and Shauna heard the previous morning originated. She noted in her notebook the last confirmed time the victim was in the house as late morning on February 19th, per witness statements. Weather accurately recorded, light fog, low temperature, limited visibility, weak natural light. These details were added to the file for estimating time and possible direction of movement. Erin requested remeasuring the distance from the main door to the street, 11 meters. No strange traces on the paving. Along the path, small plant pots still wet from overnight rain. She had the entire area photographed, numbering each position for the image file. When checking the side of the house, the technical team noted a small dried mud streak, possibly from a vehicle or pedestrian, but not clear enough for analysis. The scene report was completed on-site, summarizing, no evidence of criminal activity, no signs of unusual departure, no suspicious objects around the premises. Erin signed off, stamping initial scene recorded. Before leaving, she instructed to preserve the house's current state, not to move any items until the technical team completed a second check. As the officers departed, the sky had fully brightened, weak sunlight piercing the thin mist, casting a cold glow over Bitterne Park Street. The small house was silent, everything inside intact, but an empty feeling still enveloped the space where a girl was last seen, and from then on, no one knew where she had gone. That afternoon, after completing the crime scene documentation, Erin Moore returned to the living room of the house at 47 Bitterne Park Road to conduct individual interviews with each family member. She placed a small recording device on the table, opened her notebook, and began with Gareth Lowe. The man sat upright, his face gaunt from lack of sleep. He recounted that morning, around midday, he left the house for work, at which point Ellie was still in her upstairs room, with no signs of anything unusual. He heard faint music coming from her room and assumed his daughter would go out to meet friends after school. Gareth stated that Ellie rarely left the house alone and would usually inform him or Angela if she was going anywhere. He left the house just after 11 o'clock, and when he returned in the afternoon, everything seemed normal, except that no one had seen Ellie since he left. Erin asked further about family relationships, and he insisted there had been no recent conflicts, only occasional minor arguments between his daughter and Nathan, but nothing serious. After recording Gareth's full statement, Erin moved on to Angela Holt. The woman appeared tense, her voice trembling when referring to that morning. Angela said she had been in the kitchen most of the time, cleaning and preparing lunch. Around the time Ellie left her room, She heard footsteps coming down the stairs, followed by the front door closing quite firmly. Thinking her daughter was just stepping out briefly, she paid no attention. When asked whether she had seen Ellie through the window or in a mirror, Angela shook her head. Erin noted, heard door slam. No visual confirmation. Around early afternoon, she went upstairs to check Ellie's room and realized the girl was not home. As for whether the phone had been left behind, Angela said she wasn't sure. Next, Erin interviewed Nathan Holt. He sat leaning back in his chair, arms crossed, appearing calm but avoiding direct eye contact. When asked the last time he saw Ellie, Nathan said he only heard the door slam while he was in the living room with his girlfriend. He assumed that was when the girl left, without knowing where she was going or seeing anyone following her. Erin asked if he heard any other sounds, and he replied no. Shauna Reed, Nathan's girlfriend, was brought in last. She confirmed she was at the house that morning and heard the door close in the same way Nathan described. When Erin asked for a specific time, Shauna said mid-morning, possibly close to noon. Erin noted that both of their statements aligned almost completely, including the description of the sound, the timing, and the subsequent reaction. She marked in her notebook, statements consistent may require cross-verification. Additionally, both affirmed there had been no conflicts or arguments with Ellie recently. When asked about the girl's habits, Angela said Ellie was usually shy, rarely went out, only going to school or meeting close friends on weekends, and had no history of staying out overnight. Erin continued to verify the timeline from when Gareth left the house until Angela heard the door close was about 2 hours, during which only Nathan and Shauna were downstairs. A temporary note in the file established the victim's last known presence as inside the house, with the exact departure time unconfirmed. After completing the 4 statements, Erin reviewed them all to ensure consistency across family members. The coincidence in describing the door slamming prompted her to note the need for verification using audio data or nearby cameras. For the time being, there was no evidence of criminal behavior or signs of conflict in the home. She concluded the interviews around 4 in the afternoon, saved all recordings to the file, and signed off. Preliminary witness statements obtained. Before leaving the house, Erin paused at the front door, observing the frame, handle, and step once more. Then added a final line to the report. Door likely closed from inside, no evidence of forced exit. The case remained in the initial verification stage, with every detail needing cross-checking against technical data and external information. After completing the statements, Erin Moore returned to the Southampton CID office that same afternoon to begin establishing the victim's movement timeline. On her desk, she spread out a city map, marking the location of 47 Bitterne Park Road with a red pen. Data from the interviews was entered into the system, identifying the last sound associated with leaving the house as occurring between approximately 10:45 and 11:15 a.m. on February 19, 2014. Erin contacted the technical unit to request footage extraction from area surveillance cameras, starting from the road in front of the house to major traffic points. The first camera was at the Bitterne Park Road junction, a speed control system camera, but its view was limited and did not clearly capture pedestrians. Another camera at the co-op store, about 300 meters away, was checked next. Footage from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. showed a few passers-by, but no girl matching the description. Erin expanded the search to Itchen Bridge, the large bridge connecting the residential area to the port and city center. Bridge surveillance recorded an individual in a light-colored coat walking along the pedestrian path around 11:25, but due to thick fog, the image was blurry and the face could not be identified. She requested the image analysis unit to enlarge the frame and compare it to the victim's height and build from school records. The result only confirmed relative match. Meanwhile, the telecommunications team retrieved data from Eleanor Lowe's phone. Carrier records showed the device connecting to a cell tower near Itchen Bridge around 11:28, then moving toward Ocean Village Marina before losing signal completely at 11:32. The loss of signal area was pinpointed within an approximately 800-meter radius around the port, an area with many warehouses and parking lots. Aaron noted, last signal point, Ocean Village area, 11:32 a.m., then compared it to the door slam timing from statements, noting a significant alignment. She reviewed additional traffic data from cameras along the River Itchen Road. A white Ford Transit van appeared in frame at 11:17, traveling from Bitterne Park toward the bridge. The license plate was unreadable due to light glare, but the timing closely matched the presumed departure. Aaron could not yet draw conclusions, but noted it in the file. In the internal report, she outlined a probable route from the front door, crossing Bitterne Park Road, heading southeast across Itchen Bridge to Ocean Village. The last phone signal point, estimated distance 2 miles, walkable in about 40 minutes. However, rechecking roadside camera footage for the same period revealed no additional matching figures and no clear evidence the victim walked the entire route. Aaron identified a nearly 1-hour gap between leaving the house and the phone signal loss. This gap was marked in the report as unexplained gap, potential contact or vehicle involvement. She continued reviewing port area traffic data where numerous security cameras covered cargo yards. Some footage was recovered, but most was limited to trucks entering and exiting. Due to data retention limits, only a few blurry segments remained, insufficient for clear identification. In the end-of-day summary report, Aaron created a timeline chart with 4 markers: 10:45, 11:15 door slam sound, departure, 11:17 white Ford Transit van, heading toward bridge, 11:28 phone connection at Itchen Bridge Tower, and 11:32 signal loss in Ocean Village area. From this, she defined the likely departure window as 11 o'clock, 11:15, and the last known point as the Ocean Village port area, within a 1-kilometer radius of the marina. The movement map was marked with a dashed line showing the route from Bitterne Park across the bridge to the port area. Aaron printed the map and pinned it to the caseboard in the office. Next to it was the victim's photo provided by the family, placed beside the note, last confirmed location, inside residence. Last signal, Ocean Village. While compiling data, she requested the technical team continue scanning main route cameras from 10:30–12 o'clock for any unusual vehicle stops. Outside, light rain began, wind from the Itchen River rustling the clipped map. Aaron reviewed the timeline notes, adding a red mark between 11:15 and 11:32, the empty interval where everything suddenly vanished. The interim report concluded, no direct evidence of voluntary departure, no clear signs of crime, but an unexplained gap in the timeline, a factor requiring deeper investigation to determine what truly happened to Eleanor Lowe on the morning of February 19. Once the timeline report was complete, Aaron Moore immediately submitted it to the area commander and proposed launching a field search operation. Based on phone location data and the victim's final signal area, the investigation team identified the primary search zone as along the River Itchen, extending from the head of Itchen Bridge to Ocean Village Marina, including Riverside Park and Woodmill Lane. Early the next morning, with thick fog still lingering, police units, water rescue teams, and over 20 local volunteers assembled at the riverbank staging point. A mobile command post was set up at the park entrance, with area maps spread out on tables marking zones to cover. Aaron assigned 3 operational groups, 1 ground team patrolling the riverbank and trails, 1 using small boats equipped with sonar to scan the riverbed, and a final group coordinating with detection dogs to check bushes, small woods, and wasteland strips. That morning's weather was cold and damp, strong wind from the river mouth, complicating drone operations. Nevertheless, the technical team deployed 3 drones for overhead sweeps, filming hard-to-reach areas. Aaron joined the first group along the Riverside Path in Riverside Park. The river was slightly swollen, its surface rippling, weak light limiting visibility to a few dozen meters. Along the route, officers marked soft ground sections for footprints or slides, but all had been washed away by overnight rain. Morning data collection yielded nothing noteworthy: no clothing, no bag, no personal documents. To the north, the water rescue team deployed sonar to scan the riverbed. Central monitor images showed only mud, rocks, and natural debris. A few suspicious signals were rescanned multiple times, but diver checks revealed only large sunken branches. The detection dog team completed sweeping the wooded strip along Woodmill Lane by midday. The dogs sniffed around embankments and drainage ditches, but showed no reaction to any scent. Aaron noted, negative, no scent trail, no trace of personal items. By early afternoon, the search expanded southward, covering minor roads leading to residential areas near Itchen Bridge. Volunteers distributed missing person flyers with the girl's photo to passers-by, questioning households about sightings on February 19th. A few reported seeing a teenage girl walking that morning, but none could confirm exact time or details. Scattered statements were recorded, but no direct witness confirmed encountering Eleanor Lowe after she left home. In the afternoon, wind strengthened as fog lifted, but search time was cut short by rising tide. Teams returned to the staging point for data consolidation. The entire Riverside Park, Woodmill Lane, Itchen Riverbank, and Port Access Road areas yielded no physical traces related to the victim. The end-of-day report stated clearly, search area covered, no evidence recovered. Aaron requested all drone and sonar data be archived and cataloged for later analysis. She and the technical team reviewed overhead footage, cold gray river views, empty park, leafless trees, and deserted roads. No unusual objects or movements were recorded across the sweep. Near sunset, as teams packed equipment, Aaron wrote the final notebook entry, Day 1, full search, negative results. It was dark when the last police vehicle left the park. Yellow lights on Itchen Bridge reflected on the cold water. The initial search operation ended in silence. No witnesses, no traces, no clues about where Eleanor Lowe had gone or stopped. In the summary report to Central Command, the brief conclusion was typed in capitals, no trace, no witness. 3 days after the initial search operation concluded, a call was forwarded to the Southampton Police Information Reception Center from the city's Environmental Sanitation Department. The caller was a garbage collector from the Woodmill Lane area, reporting that during his early morning shift, he discovered a suspicious red hoodie in a public trash bin near the entrance to the Riverside Woods. The hoodie was stuffed deep under black nylon bags, still damp and covered in mud. The information was immediately relayed to the investigation team handling Eleanor Lowe's missing person case, and Aaron Moore, along with 2 field officers, arrived at the specified location. The Woodmill Lane area was about 1.5 miles from the Lowe family home, adjacent to the trail leading down to the banks of the River Itchen, which had been searched during the previous operation. The green trash bin was positioned close to the roadside, surrounded by dry leaves, with fresh handprints visible on the rim. Aaron requested a small perimeter lockdown, set up temporary barriers, and initiated the evidence collection procedure. The red hoodie was packaged in a preservation bag and placed in a sealed container with a temporary code number. The accompanying forensic technician photographed it from every angle, measured the temperature, and recorded the discovery time. 7:46 a.m. on February 23, 2014. Upon turning the hood inside out, they discovered mud, and a few short brown hairs adhered to the interior. Aaron instructed that it be preserved as is, without washing, for testing at the Central Forensic Lab. She noted, clothing item recovered, possible belonging to missing person. Back at headquarters, images of the hoodie were sent to the Lowe family. Angela immediately recognized it as the one her daughter often wore to school, featuring a small star logo on the left sleeve. Gareth confirmed it, stating that Ellie had bought the hoodie with a friend the previous year and rarely changed her daily outfit. After identification, the evidence was officially coded as EL47 and transferred to the Hampshire Forensic Lab for analysis. The initial laboratory report indicated biological traces on the outer fabric and inside the hood. The samples were divided into two groups: female DNA matching the reference sample from Eleanor Lowe, provided by her parents, and another unidentified DNA profile, where gender could not be clearly determined due to low concentration and contamination. The lab recorded the results as partial mixed DNA profile to be re-examined. Additionally, experts noted no blood stains or major damage on the garment, only a few small tears on the left cuff, possibly from abrasion. Erin carefully read the report, underlined the conclusion possible external contact, and entered the data into the case file. In her memo to the commander, she pointed out that the location where the evidence was found fell within a 1-mile radius of the phone's last signal point. The discovery of the hoodie was considered a significant breakthrough, but not sufficient to determine the cause of the disappearance. That same afternoon, the technical team returned to Woodmill Lane to search nearby trash bins and roadside dump areas. They found no additional items related to the victim, only a few pieces of nylon bags and ordinary household waste. However, the report noted small tire tracks from a car in the environment around the discovery site, with the timing of the impressions undetermined. All scene photographs, soil samples, and GPS data for the trash bin were entered into the evidence system. Erin saved the file under the label Recovered Evidence, Phase 1. In a brief meeting with the investigation team, she recapped the developments. After an unsuccessful search, the only current evidence was the red hoodie EL-47, containing the victim's DNA and an unidentified trace. The analysis team agreed to retain the sample pending improved DNA separation technology or comparison with the national database when feasible. A summary report was sent to the regional police commander by the end of the day, affirming this as the first confirmed physical link to missing persons since disappearance. The final note in the report, typed briefly by Erin, read: item recovered, DNA verified, secondary profile pending, to be stored under controlled condition. As she left the office, she paused in front of the caseboard, looking at the victim's photo next to the paper, noting evidence code EL-47. The first milestone had emerged after many hopeless days, but the gap regarding what happened to Eleanor Lowe remained completely unanswered. While the forensic lab completed the storage of evidence, EL-47, Erin Moore shifted the investigation focus to traffic routes around the area where the victim was last confirmed to have been. She contacted the Urban Surveillance Department to extract additional camera data from roads connecting Bitterne Park to Itchen Bridge, expanding to the Ocean Village area where Eleanor Lowe's phone lost signal. Due to thick fog that day, many images were blurry, requiring the technical team to reprocess frames by timestamp. In the recovered city traffic video sequence, a notable detail emerged. At approximately 11:17 a.m., a white Ford Transit van was traveling from the Bitterne Park direction toward Itchen Bridge. The camera captured the vehicle moving steadily at average speed, but glare prevented full license plate readability. Erin requested the technical team to enlarge each frame, isolate the light band on the front, and use character recognition software to reconstruct the plate. After multiple processes, the result showed a partial prefix, likely HN12, with the suffix undetermined. Cross-referencing with registered vehicles in the Bitterne area revealed only 3 matching Ford Transits in operation at that time. One belonged to Nathan Holt, the separate son of Angela Holt, Eleanor's stepmother. Erin immediately requested vehicle registration records from the licensing authority. The data showed the van with plate HN12XWD, first registered in 2012, under Nathan Holt's name, with an address matching his current residence. In the file, there was a note that the vehicle was pending sale, private transfer, meaning it was awaiting confirmation of a private sale. However, no completed transfer record existed in the database. Erin reviewed prior interview transcripts, recalling that Nathan had claimed to have sold the van a few months earlier. She flagged this statement and added the note "no record of sale verified." For further verification, Erin directly contacted the Vehicle Inspection Department regarding the most recent maintenance history. Records showed the last service in December 2013 at a garage in northern Southampton's industrial area, still under Nathan Holt's ownership. From then until February 2014, No ownership change was recorded. This data contradicted his prior statement. Aaron presented the finding to her superior, requesting access to traffic images on crossroads over Itchen Bridge in the same time frame to trace the vehicle's subsequent path. Results showed the white Ford Transit appearing again toward Ocean Village at 11:24 a.m., disappearing from camera view after turning into the warehouse district. With no public cameras inside that area, the vehicle's path beyond that point was unrecorded. Aaron compiled the two sighting locations, 7 minutes apart, and sketched the route on a map. Comparing it to the victim's prior timeline, she noted significant overlap. The bridge crossing time coincided with Eleanor's phone connecting to its last cell tower. In the interim report, Aaron wrote, "Vehicle sighting consistent with victim's last signal. Further verification required." To rule out coincidence, she expanded checks to similar vehicles in the area. However, none matched the timing and direction of Nathan's Ford Transit. She requested searches of cameras near the Holt residence to see if the van was recorded parked there before the disappearance. Community surveillance retained only partial data, but footage from 2 days prior captured a matching vehicle turning into Nathan's driveway. This was corroborated by residential GPS data from infrastructure management, showing signals from a toll device on the vehicle passing an automatic gate in the same period. Aaron concluded in an internal note, "Vehicle consistent with registration, no evidence of sale or transfer, probable access by subject." She did not immediately level accusations, but flagged the vehicle for monitoring. The summary report submitted by Day's End stated, "White Ford Transit, plate HN12XWD, owned by Nathan Holt, appeared during Eleanor Lowe's disappearance timeframe, and lacked proof of sale or transfer." In the case status checklist, Aaron entered the final line for this phase, "Vehicle registered as item of interest, added to monitoring list." Alongside evidence, EL47, this became the second officially confirmed lead in Eleanor Lowe's file, opening a new investigative direction but still insufficient to conclude anything about her disappearance. In the following weeks, the investigation team continued searching the Bitterne Park area and the entire route to Itchen Bridge, but yielded no additional evidence or valuable statements. Aaron Moore deployed another flyer distribution and door-to-door canvassing around Woodmill Lane, yet no one recalled seeing a girl matching Eleanor Lowe's description on February 19th. Additional recovered traffic cameras produced similar results: no clear images of the victim, no direct evidence of her walking, taking transport, or meeting anyone. The white Ford Transit, though matching Nathan Holt's, lacked sufficient data to confirm involvement. The plate was unreadable, with no distinctive marks or identifiers. Aaron sent verification requests to gas stations, shops, and warehouses around Ocean Village, but none retained transactions or images of suspicious individuals. All leads gradually narrowed, sources converging on the same conclusion: no witness, no further evidence. In the lab, the mixed DNA sample on Red Hoodie EL47 still could not be fully separated. Testing technology at the time allowed only preliminary identification and could not determine gender or identity of the secondary source. Forensics recommended storing the sample pending more suitable future technology. Aaron read the report, signed acknowledgement, and moved the evidence to secure storage. Each protocol sheet was finalized, most entries marked negative or inconclusive. Supplemental interviews with relatives, friends, teachers, and even Eleanor's classmates yielded no new leads. Several false tips from the public about sightings of a young girl at bus stations or central shopping areas were verified, but all proved mistaken or misidentifications. As time passed, the case dropped from police priority due to lack of updates. In April, nearly 2 months after opening the file, a comprehensive report was sent to the Hampshire Regional Commander, stating, "No progress in investigation, insufficient evidence of criminal activity." The final line recommended transferring the case to inactive, no leads. Evidence, including Red Hoodie Code, EL47, unidentified DNA sample, search maps, and all scene documents were sealed in metal box, numbered 14 SO219, placed on the third shelf of the southern storage area. Electronically, the file was tagged Cold File on April 30, 2014. Years passed, new cases overwhelmed resources, and this file sank among hundreds of unsolved missing persons in Hampshire. Erin Moore, later transferred to the Backlog Investigation Unit, occasionally reviewed old data but found no new developments. She noted briefly in her 2016 duty log, "Still no updates. Case remains inactive." Time continued, and UK police DNA testing technology advanced rapidly. By 2020, national forensic labs were equipped with next-generation sequencing systems, enabling separation of mixed samples and detection of genetic markers from minimal material. Concurrently, the Home Office launched a large-scale DNA re-review project called Operation Reconnect, aimed at retesting evidence from unsolved cases within the past decade using new technology. In March 2022, the program expanded to local police units, including Hampshire. Each unit could nominate up to 10 cold cases with reanalysis potential. Reviewing the archive list, Erin saw code 14 USO 219, suggested by the system, with the note, "Partial DNA mix. Female confirmed, secondary unknown." She formally proposed including Eleanor Lowe's file for evidence retesting, citing the fabric evidence with unidentified DNA and storage duration meeting project standards. The proposal was approved within a week. On April 12, 2022, Box 14 USO 219 was retrieved from cold storage. Fabric samples were transferred to the Central Forensic Lab for Southern England for cleaning, separation, and preparation for new sequencing. Erin received the handover protocol, signed it, and added a system note, "Case reopened for DNA re-examination under Operation Reconnect." This marked the first time in 8 years that Eleanor Lowe's name was mentioned in an official Hampshire police meeting. Among the long list of unresolved disappearances, her file was flagged Priority Sample Review. No one knew the outcome, but selecting a seemingly forgotten case signified that the Bitterne Park disappearance still had a chance for further review. At a time when new technology began unlocking traces thought lost since 2014. In early 2023, the evidence samples seized from the Eleanor Lowe disappearance case were transferred to the National Forensic Center in Waltham for analysis using next-generation sequencing technology. The designated laboratory was a unit within the Operation Reconnect network, specializing in processing contaminated or degraded DNA samples after long-term storage. The red hoodie, item code ELS47, the only piece of evidence that had retained its full biological structure, was removed from cold storage, its surface condition checked, and prepared for the extraction process. Technicians cut 4 small pieces from the wrist cuffs, hood, and inner hem, using an enzyme solution to detach any remaining skin cells. The analysis process lasted nearly 3 weeks, during which new sequencing software allowed identification of broken or contaminated DNA segments. Initial results confirmed the presence of female DNA matching Eleanor Lowe's reference sample, cross-referenced with records archived since 2014. However, more significantly, a clear second DNA profile appeared, exhibiting male genetic markers with a mixture ratio of approximately 30%. The forensic lab reported that this sample likely belonged to someone who had direct contact with the hoodie shortly before it was abandoned on Woodmill Lane. The data was uploaded to the National Genetic Database for comparison. After 48 hours of processing, the system returned a notification, "Partial match, family lineage, Holt." This was a partial match with the Holt family in the National Gene Bank, the surname of Angela Holt, the victim's stepmother. Erin Moore received the notification in early March, reading and rereading the printed results. The line "male DNA consistent with Holt family marker" prompted her to immediately reopen the old case files. In the family background section, only one man with that surname had a direct connection to the victim, Nathan Holt, age 26 at the time of the disappearance, Eleanor's half-brother through their mother. Erin requested the forensic team to reconfirm the margin of error, and they responded that the reliability exceeded 99.3%, sufficient to consider identification within close blood relations. The results report was sent to the Hampshire Police Command Office, along with a proposal to change the case status from inactive to reassessment pending. Aaron drafted a memorandum summarizing evidence item EL47 through NGS analysis revealed male DNA directly related to the Holt family, with the only matching individual within the investigation scope being Nathan Holt. She attached the crime scene map and a timeline comparison showing overlap between the time Nathan's white Ford Transit van appeared at Itchen Bridge and the moment the victim's phone lost signal. These two factors, DNA sequence and vehicle data, when placed side by side, formed a connection that could not be proven nearly 9 years earlier. During an internal meeting of the cold case unit, Aaron presented the analysis results to the command team. Forensic officers confirmed that NGS technology had ruled out cross-contamination during storage, so the male DNA source was considered direct contact evidence, not explainable by random coincidence. The official report from the Waltham Center stated clearly, secondary DNA source identified, paternal marker associated with Holt lineage. Based on this, Command approved Aaron's request to reactivate the investigation. On March 14, 2023, the status of case file 14-SO219 on the Hampshire Police internal system was updated from cold archive to active investigation, reopened under Operation Reconnect. Aaron received the official notification, signed the reactivation minutes, and planned to recollect all technical evidence related to the victim. She reviewed the list of relatives and noted family relationships: Gareth Lowe, biological father; Angela Holt, stepmother; Nathan Holt, maternal half-brother; Shauna Reed, Nathan's girlfriend. In the final notes of the meeting, the unit commander concluded, the DNA findings indicate a probable link within the victim's household. Further investigation authorized. This document was sent to the Regional Oversight Office for the South to register the case code for reassessment. After nearly 9 years on the shelf, the Eleanor Lowe file was once again moved from cold storage to the investigation desk, with the first potential suspect appearing on the list, Nathan Holt. On the data screen, the new status line was updated, Case 14-SO219, reactivated for forensic review. From that moment, the 2014 disappearance in Bitterne Park was officially considered an actively reopened investigation, opening a new phase where forensic science began to compensate for the limitations that humans could not overcome nearly a decade earlier. After the DNA analysis results were confirmed and the case file officially reactivated, Aaron Moore focused on the digital investigation direction, aiming to recover electronic devices seized during the initial investigation, but not fully exploited for data. In the Hampshire Police Storage Archive, Eleanor Lowe's mobile phone, a white 2013 Samsung model, was still sealed in a preservation bag, item code ELS12. At the time in 2014, data recovery technology was limited, only retrieving basic call logs and messages, while the internal memory was corrupted due to chip damage. With support from the National Digital Center, Aaron requested a direct-to-NAND chip reading recovery process, a method that allows extraction of raw data from the storage circuit without needing the device to function. Technicians disassembled the phone in a sterile room, separated the memory chip, cleaned it, and connected it to a specialized reader. Binary data was extracted in millions of code clusters, then transferred to software for reconstructing the original file system. This process lasted 2 weeks, with each step logged and evidenced. When the software completed its first scan, results showed approximately 5.3 GB of recovered data, including images, videos, system files, and location data. Among them were over 600 photos taken from November 2013 to mid-February 2014. Aaron and the digital technician reviewed them chronologically, paying attention to dates close to the disappearance. Most photos were school scenes, friends, and selfies at home. However, in the final group dated the 19th of February 2014, the day of the disappearance, there was a small image file, IMG_3274, never previously extracted. The image was blurry, low light, angled shot, showing part of a gray metal frame and a side door panel with a light reflecting slit. On the right edge of the frame, a distinctive detail appeared, a black streak running vertically along a silver plastic edge, typical of a sliding door, common in cargo vans. When zoomed in, small light spots could be seen entering from a small window above, while the lower background was dark plastic flooring with raised ridges, standard in cargo vehicles. Though the image showed no clear faces, the reflection on the metal revealed the outline of long hair, matching Eleanor's described appearance. Aaron requested the digital forensics unit to extract all metadata from the photo to confirm location and time. Results showed GPS data embedded in the photo, pinpointing coordinates 50, 896 degree N, 1, 389 degree W, corresponding to the Ocean Village port area, a few hundred meters from the initial phone signal loss location. The recorded time was 11:23 a.m. on February 19, 2014, right in the middle of the two timestamps Aaron had previously identified in the movement chart. The technician's report stated, image timestamp consistent with last known phone activity. GPS coordinates confirm location near Ocean Village Marina. This meant the photo was taken within the disappearance time frame. Aaron compared the sliding door and vehicle frame in the photo with reference images of 2010-2013 Ford Transit models. The comparison matched in paint color, frame structure and handle lock design. When aligned with the vehicle registration records under Nathan Holt's name, the white Ford Transit with plate HN12XWD had identical body structure and door design. This similarity led Aaron to immediately add the enlarged printed photo to the technical evidence file, coding it Digital Exhibit EL83. In a meeting with the investigation team, she presented the chain of discoveries, the photo taken on the morning of the disappearance, inside an interior matching the model owned by Nathan, with GPS location aligning with the victim's phone signal loss area. This report was independently verified once more by a separate technical team to rule out image tampering. Results confirmed the file was original, unedited, data fully matching the NAND chip, with no signs of copying or alteration. Aaron noted in the minutes, recovered digital evidence establishes probable location of victim inside enclosed vehicle, matching model registered to Nathan Holt. She compared timelines with previously collected traffic data, noting the photo was taken just 6 minutes after traffic cameras recorded the white Ford Transit crossing Itchen Bridge. This reinforced the hypothesis that Eleanor was in the vehicle at that time. All results were printed and stored as electronic evidence files, attached to Case 14 SO219. The summary report sent to command concluded, digital reconstruction confirms presence of victim inside unidentified van at Ocean Village within time frame of disappearance. The case status on the internal system was updated with the note, new digital evidence recovered, further investigation required. Aaron marked April 6, 2023, in her notebook, writing briefly, first image, first proof. In the 9 years since Eleanor vanished, this was the first time police had physical evidence showing she was inside a vehicle, and that vehicle matched the registration of someone with the Holt surname. Once the image data from the victim's phone was confirmed, Aaron Moore decided to focus all efforts on proving a direct connection between that photo and the vehicle owned by Nathan Holt. The first step was to verify whether the white Ford Transit with plate HN12XWD, registered to Nathan in the records, still existed or had been transferred. The traffic department provided information that the vehicle was still in circulation, with a new owner, a dock worker in Portsmouth, who purchased it in late 2015. Aaron contacted the owner directly, who confirmed that since purchase, the vehicle had never had its electronic control components changed, particularly the ECU, the central processor containing journey data, which is rarely cleared unless replaced. She immediately obtained a temporary seizure warrant for technical inspection. The vehicle was brought to the police inspection yard, sealed, and ECU data extraction was performed. Digital forensic engineers used a specialized reader connecting to the OBD port to download internal GPS data. After nearly 2 hours of processing, they discovered that the ECU's temporary memory still retained old coordinate sequences from February 2014, mostly overwritten but some data packets preserved due to incomplete deletion. When reconstructed, the system revealed a clear journey, The vehicle departed from the Bitterne Park area at 10:59 a.m. on February 19, 2014, crossed Itchen Bridge, stopped briefly near the bridge for about 3 minutes, then continued south into Container Yard 4 at coordinates 50,894° N, 1390° W, before returning to the residential area at 12:08. This route perfectly matched Eleanor Lowe's disappearance timeframe and the GPS location from the phone photo. Aaron requested cross-referencing this data with the port's camera system, where digital video storage had been converted to a new format in 2021. Original data was stored in the Southampton City Archive. The technical team took 2 days to retrieve and restore files from February 2014. Among thousands of frames, they found footage from February 19 at 11:34, capturing the gate of Container Yard 4, where a white Ford Transit passed through, stopped briefly at the control gate, then proceeded inside. Only one person was visible in the driver's seat, but the high-angle camera lacked resolution to identify the face. However, under dim light, 3 characters of the license plate, HN1, were clearly visible, and the rear door frame had a long scratch, matching the description in Nathan Holt's vehicle records. Aaron requested enlargement of the frame, compared the scratch position with current photos of the vehicle, and found the scratch still intact. This was undeniable physical evidence of the vehicle's presence at Container Yard 4, at the time Eleanor was believed to be alive. Data from the ECU and camera footage were merged in the digital forensic report. The digital map displayed a red route from the victim's home to the port, matching each GPS point with specific times, and the timeline noted 10:59, departure from Bitterne Park, 11:25, crossing Itchen Bridge, 11:34, entry Container Yard 4, 12:08, return route. When compared to the 11:23 timestamp of the phone photo, Aaron noted the precise minute-by-minute alignment. This confirmed the victim was in the vehicle as it passed through the port area. The summary report was presented to the Cold Case Unit Commander, including enlarged license plate images, ECU data copies, and the journey map. The department's technical verification unit confirmed the data, concluding GPS records are original, no sign of tampering. Vehicle recorded in container area within disappearance timeframe. Simultaneously, Aaron requested re-examination of all security cameras around Container Yard 4 to determine if the vehicle exited via the same route. Data showed the vehicle left the Eastport Gate at 12:07, matching the final ECU journey timestamp. No cameras captured stops or door openings inside, as Container Yard 4 was a restricted civilian traffic zone. All results were compiled by Aaron into a single logical chain. The vehicle departed from the suspect's residence, traveled in the direction of the victim's disappearance, crossed Itchen Bridge, entered the Container Yard, and returned within a 1-hour 10-minute window, matching the gap when Eleanor vanished. Aaron numbered this evidence chain. Forensic link chain 14 So 219 vehicle path. On the case tracking board, she pinned 3 photos, the image from the victim's phone, the frame from port camera, and the GPS diagram. All 3 data streams, digital, mechanical and visual, intersected at the same point, Container Yard 4, Ocean Village. This was the first time in nearly 9 years that police could construct a seamless physical evidence chain between the victim and the vehicle owned by Nathan Holt. In the minutes sent to command, Aaron wrote, ECU GPS confirms movement from residence to container port during victim's disappearance. Visual evidence from port surveillance corroborates route. Physical correlation established between victim, location, and vehicle. The report was approved, data stored in the National Evidence System, marking a pivotal step in proving the direct connection between the victim and the vehicle, potentially involved in Eleanor Lowe's disappearance. Immediately after the chain of physical evidence linking the victim and the white Ford Transit van was established, Aaron Moore submitted an updated file to the leadership of the Hampshire Police Department to request permission to re-interview the related individuals in the Holt family. The summons was issued in early May 2023, requiring Nathan Holt and his ex-girlfriend Shauna Reed to appear at the Southampton Police Headquarters for questioning in connection with the 2014 disappearance of Eleanor Lowe. The first interview was conducted in interrogation room number 2, with Aaron present along with a legal officer as a witness. Nathan appeared as summoned, dressed neatly, calm in demeanor, but avoiding eye contact. Aaron opened the old case file, reread the 2014 statement in which Nathan claimed he had sold the white Ford Transit van before the disappearance and did not know Eleanor's whereabouts. She placed in front of him copies of the vehicle registration data along with the ECU extracted GPS log from February 19, 2014, clearly showing the van was still owned by him at that time. Nathan looked down at the documents, remained silent for a long while, then said, "I don't remember exactly. I might have gotten the timing of the sale wrong." Aaron continued by presenting photos from the victim's phone, explaining that they were recovered from NAND memory and showed the interior matching his van. Nathan bowed his head, sighed, and said he only knew the girl as someone who occasionally asked for rides to school, but did not respond when Aaron asked why Eleanor's phone had recorded video inside the van on the exact morning of the disappearance. She shifted the topic to the DNA results, informing him that the male sample found on the red hoodie had genetic markers matching the Holt family, meaning it was from someone related by blood to him. Nathan reacted coldly, saying briefly, "I don't know why my DNA would be there, maybe from washing clothes together." Aaron noted the statement, marked the timestamp of the reaction, and then forwarded the entire session to the recording analysis department. After nearly 2 hours, Nathan provided no further details, repeatedly insisting that he had nothing to do with it. The interview ended in heavy silence. Immediately afterward, Shauna Reed was brought into a separate interview room. She had left the relationship with Nathan years earlier, and now lived in Portsmouth. Aaron cross-referenced the 2014 statement record, in which Shauna said that on the morning Eleanor disappeared, she was in the living room, and only heard a door slamming hard. When asked if she had seen or directly interacted with Eleanor that morning, she hesitated, and then said, "I'm not sure, I might have glimpsed her in the hallway." Aaron showed her the recovered photo from the victim's phone and asked if she recognized the space. Shauna looked at it for a long time, then said, "It could be inside Nathan's van. It looks like it." This response was immediately flagged because it contradicted her old statement that she hadn't seen Eleanor leave the house. When Aaron presented the van's GPS log showing the route to Container Yard 4 within the disappearance timeframe, Shauna fell silent. Her hands clenched tightly, then quietly said, "I don't know where he drove that morning. I thought he was just out for a few minutes." Aaron asked her to explain why Nathan claimed to have sold the van earlier, while she confirmed seeing it parked at the house at that time. She did not answer directly, only saying, "It was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly." The interview transcript was signed and confirmed, with the investigation team marking numerous contradictions between the current statements and the 2014 file. After the 2 interviews concluded, Aaron held an emergency meeting with the task force. The compiled report showed DNA matching the Holt family established a biological link to the suspect, photo and GPS data proved the victim was in Nathan's owned vehicle during the disappearance timeframe. Shauna's statements contradicted her previous testimony, indicating signs of concealment or altered information. The internal legal department assessed that the evidence was sufficient to request a preliminary arrest warrant for investigation purposes. Aaron finalized the proposal memorandum, stating clearly, "Suspect, Nathan Holt. Direct link through DNA, digital evidence, and vehicle trace. Witness Shauna Reed. Conflicting testimony." The documents were submitted to the Regional Crown Prosecution Service, along with requests to seize the vehicle and all related samples. That night, Aaron updated the case status in the investigation system, Case 14 SO219, probable cause established, warrant request pending. This was the first time since 2014 that the investigation into Eleanor Lowe's disappearance had reached the threshold of sufficient legal grounds to shift from a missing persons file to the prosecution phase. 3 days after the Regional Crown Prosecution Service approved the request, the arrest warrant for Nathan Holt was officially signed on suspicion related to the 2014 disappearance of Eleanor Lowe. On the morning of May 9, 2023, a task force from the Hampshire Police Department, coordinated with the Portsmouth Investigation Unit, executed the arrest at Nathan's current residence, a small rented house in a northern suburban area of the city. When the team approached, he was in the backyard and offered no resistance, as he was read his Miranda rights and handcuffed on the spot. Aaron Moore was present with the command team, directly overseeing the search conducted under court order. The small two-story house, painted gray on the exterior, was sealed immediately after the arrest. The forensic team and documenting officers began searching the entire ground floor. In the storage room, they discovered an old black Samsonite suitcase with one broken lock. It was empty inside, but had small red fabric fibers stuck to the edging. Nearby was a roll of silver duct tape, rubber gloves, and a large bag of cat litter half full, the same type commonly sold in local stores. Aaron immediately ordered each item sealed, labeled, and temporarily coded. When checking the kitchen and living room areas, the technical team found no other signs of evidence, but upon moving to the second floor, they noticed abnormalities in the bathroom. The tiles were shiny and spotless, with no stains, while other areas of the house were old and dusty. A technician used ultraviolet light and detected small discolored patches on the bathtub edge, signs of possible heavy cleaning. The grout lines near the floor had faint, unusual streaks, which were sampled and placed in biological preservation bags. Aaron ordered full photographic documentation and also collected the cleaning solutions found in the cabinet, 2 bottles labeled bleach and drain cleaner. In Nathan's wardrobe closet, the forensic team also found a small cardboard box containing thick nylon bags, the same type as the trash bags used at Woodmill Lane in 2014. All were seized as additional evidence. In the garage behind the house, which he had used as a vehicle repair workshop, there were old materials, scraps of plastic from a van floor, used industrial gloves, and a gray fabric piece suspected to be floor matting. These items were noted as related to vehicle interior and sent for parallel analysis. Aaron carefully observed each room, recording every detail in the search log. When reaching the bathroom corner, she bent down to re-examine the drain pipe where the technician had taken samples. Ultraviolet light on the pipe wall revealed faint irregular streaks, unclear whether rust or organic material. The sample was labeled bathroom residue, sample A. Each seizure step was documented in the report with legal witness signatures. After nearly 4 hours, the entire house search was complete. A total of 23 pieces of evidence were seized, including 8 biological samples, 6 physical samples, and 9 items suspected of being related to concealment. Aaron reviewed the list and flagged 3 key items: the old suitcase with red fibers, gloves, and cat litter, items matching descriptions from the 2014 crime scene report. She directed separate packaging, double sealing, and transport by specialized vehicle to the Central Southampton Forensic Lab for testing. In the scene report, the lead technician noted, bathroom cleaned extensively, possible chemical traces, evidence of concealment attempt. Police completed sealing the house by late afternoon. Nathan Holt was transported to Hampshire Police Headquarters for detention processing, while Shauna Reed was re-summoned for further assistance in the investigation, but was not arrested. All samples and evidence recovered from the search were handed over directly to the forensic lab the same day, accompanied by detailed descriptions, photographs, collection times, and responsible personnel. Aaron signed the final report, confirming all recovered items transferred for laboratory analysis, possible linkage to Case 14 SO219. With the arrest complete and evidence sealed, the investigation into Eleanor Lowe's disappearance officially entered the forensic phase, where the upcoming analysis results would determine whether nearly 9 years of silence could finally be resolved. Immediately after the search was completed and Nathan Holt was brought to the main Hampshire Police Headquarters, Aaron Moore, along with 2 senior investigators, conducted the formal interrogation in Interrogation Room Number 3. The start time was recorded at 10 a.m. on May 10, 2023. Nathan was fully informed of his legal rights and had legal representation available, but he agreed to answer questions without his lawyer present during the initial phase. Aaron began by presenting a summary of the collected evidence, GPS data from the Ford Transit van, showing the route from Bitterne Park to Container Yard 4 within Eleanor Lowe's disappearance timeframe, photos extracted from the victim's phone taken inside the van matching his vehicle, and male DNA with Holt family markers found on the red hoodie. Nathan remained silent, looking down at the table with his hands clasped. Aaron placed a color printout of the GPS route in front of him, pointing out each matching point. After nearly 10 minutes of silence, Nathan sighed and said softly, "I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted to scare her." Aaron kept her voice calm and asked him to clarify what he meant by scare. Nathan hesitantly explained that on that morning he went to the house with Shauna, bringing the van. He said there had been ongoing conflicts between him and Eleanor because she often disrespected his mother, Angela Holt. He claimed he wanted to scare her once so she'd learn. When Aaron asked specifically how, Nathan replied that he brought a cloth bag, duct tape, and gloves, just to tie her hands, then let her go right away. According to his statement, when he arrived at the house, he knew Angela had an appointment out, so only Eleanor was home. He went upstairs, knocked on the door, then suddenly grabbed her shoulders and told her to come with me. Eleanor resisted, tried to cry out, and during the struggle, he covered her mouth with his hand. Nathan said in a trembling voice that it happened fast. "I didn't think she would stop breathing." He described that when he saw Eleanor go limp, he panicked, carried her downstairs, put her in the van, and drove away. Aaron asked him to specify the destination, and Nathan bowed his head and replied, "I drove to the old container yard at Itchen Quay, near the abandoned warehouses." He said he parked behind a row of rusty containers in a low-traffic area, then placed the body in a large suitcase, the same suitcase police had seized from his house, and sprinkled cat litter over it. When Aaron asked if anyone helped or knew about it, Nathan insisted, no one else. Shauna didn't know. His lawyer, after being called in, requested a pause in the interrogation for his client to rest. The interrogation resumed in the afternoon, with the presence of a prosecutor representative and a recording technician. Aaron displayed images from the search, the suitcase, duct tape, gloves, cat litter, along with forensic results showing red fabric fibers on the suitcase, matching those on the victim's hoodie. Nathan nodded slowly, then repeated that it was just meant to scare her. "I didn't mean to kill her." When Aaron asked why he hid the body instead of calling police, he bowed his head and said, "I was scared. I thought no one would believe me." Aaron read back the timeline in detail to confirm it matched the data: 10:59 departure from Bitterne Park, 11:23 victim's phone, capturing photos inside the van, 11:34 van entering Container Yard 4, 12:08, leaving the area. Nathan confirmed each timestamp as accurate, saying, "I was only there about an hour, then went back." She asked further about the container yard's condition, and Nathan described the old structure in detail, saying there was a row parallel to a brick wall, with a soft dirt trench in between, and that he buried her temporarily there. Aaron recorded the statement verbatim and signed it. The forensic team was immediately notified of the new location information. Before concluding the interrogation, Nathan signed the transcript, agreeing to cooperate in pinpointing the exact location. Aaron then presented the results to the cold case unit leadership and requested approval for an emergency excavation operation. The summary report stated clearly, suspect confession indicates accidental death during coercion. Disposal location, disused container yard Itchen Quay area. The legal memorandum with estimated coordinates was forwarded to the Crown Prosecution Service for a site search warrant. The DNA, GPS, physical evidence, and confession merged into a complete chain of evidence for the first time in nearly 9 years. All data regarding Eleanor Lowe's disappearance was connected by direct testimony from the person responsible. Aaron left the interrogation room in the late afternoon, exhausted but alert, with only one sentence from the final transcript repeating in her mind, "Buried in the abandoned container yard near Itchen Quay." That was the location that, for many years, hundreds of searches had passed through, without anyone suspecting that the end of the story was so close. On the morning of May 12, 2023, 2 days after Nathan Holt confessed and provided the burial location, the Hampshire Police forensic team conducted a supervised excavation operation at the abandoned container yard near Itchen Quay. The site was deep within an old industrial area, about 400 meters from the docks. Surrounded by rusty fencing and stacks of containers piled high, many of them corroded and covered in green moss. The crime scene technicians set up temporary barriers, erected white tents to shield from rain, and cordoned off the area with red and white tape. Aaron Moore was present from early on, carrying a copy of Nathan's confession and the map of the location he had marked on an old port diagram. According to his directions, the burial site was between two empty containers, next to a crumbling brick wall and a soft earthen trench covered by overgrown wild grass. This plot of land had previously been used as a truck parking lot, but was later abandoned, with no current commercial activity. The geological survey team began scanning the surface with ground-penetrating radar. After several passes, the screen displayed an anomalous reflection area at a depth of about 70 centimeters, covering nearly half a square meter. Aaron signaled for the forensic team to start digging in layers according to protocol. The topsoil was loose and damp, mixed with the smell of gasoline and oil. At around half a meter deep, one technician spotted a piece of black nylon protruding. They stopped, expanded the perimeter around the area, noted the exact coordinates, and continued removing thin layers of soil. Beneath the nylon was a thick industrial plastic bag, wrapped multiple times with silver duct tape, matching the type of evidence recovered from Nathan's home. When the bag was brought up, a strong organic stench emanated, forcing the entire team to don respirators. The bag was placed on a clean tarp, photographed at the scene before being unsealed. Inside, the forensic team found human bone fragments mixed with pieces of dark red fabric, still clinging to sand and soil residue. One section of the clothing featured a small star on the sleeve, a detail Angela had described when identifying her daughter's hoodie. The crime scene technician recorded in the log, recovered human remains, possible juvenile female. Clothing fragment, consistent with EL47 garment description. The bone fragments were carefully collected, placed in specialized bags, and sent directly to the Southampton Forensic Laboratory for examination. Aaron stood silently watching the fabric piece in the technician's hand. The damp material darkened by soil, but the stitching still clear and unmistakable. She noted in her journal, December 5, 2023, recovery of remains, consistent with victim profile. The excavation continued until late afternoon. When the entire nylon bag was removed, a few additional items were exposed at the bottom of the pit. Thin rope, a bag of dry cat litter, and a piece of rubber matting. All were seized and labeled EL91 to EL97. The surrounding area was further scanned with metal detectors and cadaver dogs to ensure no biological evidence was missed. No additional evidence was found, and the team concluded the excavation at 17:45. The site was covered again after collection was complete, with the area sealed under a temporary tent pending confirmation results. That same night, at the Central Forensic Laboratory, the bone samples were entered into an urgent DNA identification process. The samples were compared to Eleanor Lowe's reference DNA profile stored in the national database since 2014. Within just 12 hours, the system returned a 100% match, confirming the identity of the remains as Eleanor Lowe. The official report was sent to the Hampshire Police Commander at 8:10 on the morning of May 13th. Aaron was present when the notification was printed, DNA match confirmed, subject, Eleanor Lowe. Cause of death pending post-mortem. She paused for a long time, staring at the text, then added to her journal, 9 years after disappearance, remains recovered. Location consistent with suspect statement. At the scene, the police team continued cleanup and additional photography, documenting the overall view of the container yard. A temporary sign was placed next to the excavation area, scene under investigation, Hampshire Police. Local media began gathering around Itchen Quay, but the area was kept sealed until forensic samples were fully processed. Preliminary autopsy results showed small fractures in the neck and shoulder regions, consistent with the description of strangulation in Nathan's confession. No signs of stabbing or other injuries were found. The Forensic Pathology Department reported, consistent with compression-related asphyxiation. Estimated time of death consistent with the 19th of February 2014. All data was compiled and added as a supplement to case file 14 SO 219. That same afternoon, Aaron submitted a report to the Regional Crown Prosecution Service with a recommendation to upgrade the case classification. The petition stated, following recovery and DNA confirmation, classification of case 14 SO 219 shall be upgraded from missing person to homicide investigation. At 1640, the Hampshire Police Commander signed approval for the change, updating it in the national system. The official status of Eleanor Lowe's file changed from missing person cold case to homicide, active. Aaron stood in front of the electronic board, watching the text light up on the screen, then quietly marked a red check next to it. After 9 years, the disappearance in Bitterne Park was no longer an open question. From the cold soil along the Itchen riverbank, the truth had finally returned to the file, transforming a disappearance once shrouded in silence into a confirmed murder. And Eleanor Lowe's journey for justice officially entered a new phase. The trial for the Eleanor Lowe case opened on the morning of October 18, 2023, at Winchester Crown Court, nearly 9 years after the 16-year-old girl vanished from her home in Bitterne Park. Outside the courthouse gates, local media and members of the public lined up, many carrying white flowers. Inside, courtroom number 1 was under strict security, with representatives from the Crown Prosecution Service, the Hampshire Police Investigation Team, forensic experts, and the 2 defendants present, Nathan Holt, 35, and Shauna Reed, 32. Nathan was charged with premeditated murder, while Shauna was accused of assisting in concealment and perverting the course of justice. The trial lasted 6 weeks, presided over by Judge Richard Pembroke. In the opening statements, the prosecutor presented the indictment. On February 19, 2014, defendant Nathan Holt intentionally approached victim Eleanor Lowe in her home, using force that caused her death by asphyxiation, then concealed the body at an abandoned container yard near Itchen Quay. The prosecution cited a chain of physical evidence, including DNA, GPS data, digital images, the confession, and the body recovery, proving murder and concealment. On the screen before the jury, the evidence was displayed sequentially. First came the DNA analysis results from the red hoodie, labeled EL47, where male genetic markers matched the Holt family. Next were photos from the victim's phone showing the interior of a van, accompanied by GPS data, pinpointing Ocean Village at the exact time of disappearance. The prosecutor then showed the route map extracted from the ECU of the Ford Transit van, with license plate HN12XWD, detailing the journey from Bitterne Park to Container Yard 4 and back between 10:59 and 12:08 on February 19, 2014. Each data point was tied to a specific timeline and confirmed by port camera footage showing the vehicle in the area. Then, Nathan's interrogation recording was played, in which he admitted he wanted to scare the victim and accidentally caused her to stop breathing. As the audio played, the courtroom fell completely silent. The prosecutor emphasized that Nathan's actions were not random or accidental, as he had prepared fabric bags, duct tape, and gloves in advance, indicating intent to restrain. Additionally, transporting and hiding the body while cleaning the bathroom showed calculated efforts to conceal the crime. The defense attempted to argue that the death occurred during intimidation without intent to kill, but the prosecution countered with expert forensic pathologist testimony. The remains showed signs of prolonged strangulation and asphyxiation inconsistent with an accidental scenario. For Shauna Reed, the prosecution presented evidence of her presence in the home on the morning of Eleanor's disappearance, contradictions between her 2014 and 2023 statements, and items seized from her home afterward, including gloves, nylon bags, and cleaning solutions matching those used to conceal the body. Erin Moore was called as the primary witness. She recounted the entire investigation process, from reactivating the file under Operation Reconnect, discovering DNA, recovering photos, to excavating the remains. When asked about the chain of evidence, she confirmed every piece of data converged on the same point: the defendant's Ford Transit van and the container yard at Itchen Quay. That statement became a focal point in cross-examination. Nathan's defense claimed the confession was made under duress, but Erin responded that all procedures were supervised by counsel and fully recorded. The court also heard testimony from forensic experts confirming Nathan's DNA on the hoodie and in samples from the suitcase at his home. The digital forensics expert explained the NAND chip recovery process from the victim's phone, proving the photos and GPS data were original and unaltered. These images were projected on a large screen, creating a moment of silence in the courtroom when the photo of the van's interior appeared clearly, with faint light filtering through the sliding door. During cross-examination, Shauna denied knowing that Nathan had taken Eleanor, but the prosecution pointed to text messages between them after the disappearance, where she asked, "Is everything okay?" and Nathan replied, "Cleaned up." These messages, recovered from Nathan's phone data backup, were seen as evidence that she knew, or at least suspected, what had happened. On the 26th day of the trial, after all evidence had been presented, the prosecution concluded that both defendants played roles in the case. Nathan directly caused Eleanor Lowe's death and actively concealed the body. Shauna Reed assisted in cleanup, erasing traces, and remaining silent for 9 years. Judge Pembroke instructed the jury to consider each element under the law: intent, fatal outcome, and concealment. After 2 days of tense deliberation, the jury reached a final verdict, finding both defendants guilty as charged. The court announced that formal sentencing was scheduled for late November, closing one of the most complex and high-profile trials of the year. On the morning of November 27, 2023, the sentencing hearing for Nathan Holt and Shauna Reed took place at Winchester Crown Court, attended by Eleanor Lowe's family, Crown prosecution representatives, the Hampshire investigation team, and local media. The courtroom was deathly silent as Judge Richard Pembroke entered and began reading the final judgment. He concluded that Nathan Holt had intentionally used lethal force, then actively concealed the victim's body for an extended period, while lying, destroying evidence, and misleading investigators. The actions were classified as murder with intent to conceal, the highest severity within the murder penalty framework. The judge declared, "Nathan Holt, you are sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 33 years before parole consideration. This sentence reflects the cruelty of your actions and the pain you have inflicted on the victim's family." As the words were spoken, Nathan bowed his head, his face expressionless, showing no emotion. Shauna Reed, seated in the second defendant's dock, quietly cried upon hearing her sentence: 15 years imprisonment for assisting in concealing the crime and perverting the course of justice. The judge stated that, although she did not directly participate in the fatal act, she had remained silent, complicit, and allowed the crime to persist for nearly a decade. He emphasized that if she had cooperated earlier, Eleanor's family might have known the truth years ago. As the hearing concluded, Gareth Lowe, the victim's father, stood up, clutching a photo of his daughter tightly. He said nothing, only nodding slightly to Erin Moore, who had pursued the case from the very beginning to its end. Erin responded with a restrained look that conveyed both exhaustion and the final solace of delayed justice. Outside the court, a Hampshire police spokesperson announced that case 14-US-0219, Eleanor Lowe, was officially closed, with the file status changed to solved, murder conviction. The internal summary report noted the case as one of the standout successes of Operation Reconnect, the national program reanalyzing old DNA using NGS technology. In the year-end press release, Hampshire police listed the Eleanor Lowe case as a prime example of the effectiveness of modern forensic investigation and the persistence of the cold case unit. Key evidence items: the red hoodie, DNA samples, digital data, and GPS maps, were permanently archived in the central repository, under Homicide Reference Archive, 14 USO 219. At headquarters, Aaron completed the final report, typing the closing line on the cover page, "Case closed. Justice delivered." The report was forwarded to the National Criminal Oversight Agency for inclusion in the annual Cold Case 2023 report. In the document's introduction, a brief note stated, "The Eleanor Lowe case represents the intersection of forensic innovation and persistence, solved after 9 years through DNA sequencing, digital recovery, and investigative continuity." On the Hampshire Police Electronic Board, case code 14 USO 219 turned green, signifying completion. Below it was the final system-generated note, "Status, solved, murder conviction, November 2023. That afternoon, in her quiet office, Erin removed Eleanor's photo from the case board and placed it in the closed file. Winter sunlight from the window shone on the folder cover, reflecting the embossed text, "Cold Case Hampshire Police, Solved, 2023. After nearly 9 years searching for the truth, the disappearance of the 16-year-old girl from Bitterne Park had closed with a final verdict, marking the end of a chapter in the investigation history of the Southern England police force, where justice arrived late, but still arrived, and Eleanor Lowe's name was no longer on the list of missing persons yet to be found. The story of the Eleanor Lowe case, a 16-year-old girl who went missing in Bitterne Park and was found after 9 years, is not only the tragedy of one family, but also a mirror reflecting modern British society, where trust, community responsibility, and investigative technology work together in the pursuit of justice. The details of the case, from the red hoodie discarded in the Woodmill Lane trash bin, the journey of the white Ford Transit van across the Itchen Bridge, to the final photo on the victim's phone, all remind us that no trace truly disappears. It only depends on whether time and human effort are sufficient to recover it. Hampshire police never gave up, even when the file was classified as a cold case, and it was that persistence, combined with next-generation DNA technology and digital data recovery techniques, that brought the truth to light after nearly a decade. In today's life in Britain, this story delivers a powerful message. Justice may come slowly, but it never vanishes. It reminds us to take responsibility for protecting loved ones, to listen to unusual signals in relationships, and not to dismiss small things, like a door closing, a strange vehicle, or an unanswered call. At the same time, it is a testament to faith in the legal system and science, that technological progress, when used with perseverance and professional ethics, can provide answers to cases thought long forgotten. In modern British society, where justice is not just a legal concept, but a humanitarian value, the Eleanor Lowe case proves that the truth, even if buried, can still be uncovered when people refuse to stop searching. Thank you for following the story of the Eleanor Lowe case, a 9-year journey to find justice and a truth that cannot be buried. If you're interested in more cold cases solved through science and perseverance, please subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring together in the next video.